we are framing again, and this time framing without glass. So, how can I frame a pastel without glass? I've got my little pastel there on Colourfix paper. The first thing I need to do is spray it with 2 coats of the Degas fixative. Got it in this atomizer so it sprays fairly well. I've already done that. And then you can do it a couple of ways. You can use the Spectrafix natural glass, which is a varnish and medium, a sort of wax-based one, and you can use that by brushing it on. So once you've done the final fix with 2 layers of this, then you put a layer of the natural glass, 1 or 2 layers, and that will stop the pastel coming off. Hard to believe, isn't it? But here's my hands, no pastel on them. Rub my finger across it, I'm not smudging anything. So it fixes it. It does dull it and darken it, and when I've finished this in another video, I'll show you the 3 or 4 different ways I framed up painting done of the same scene, and you can see the difference it makes. One thing I've found, that if you use this technique on a light coloured paper, you get far less darkening. In fact, I didn't use the natural glass. I wanted to try something different today, and I used just a normal spray gloss varnish. And I have to say, it worked really well. I noticed no extra darkening. It sprayed on fine and much easier than brushing it on. So we'll see how that works out over time. What I'm going to do then is mount it on a piece of thin foam core. I've taped the edges just to keep them nice and neat, because this will be sitting on top so that it's a little bit raised up. And then that little lot will sit on a piece of MDF that I've primed and sealed and then spray painted with a matte white paint. That will all go in to a frame, and there'll be no glass. Quite simple to do. So let's take that apart and start attaching things to things. So we'll start by attaching the Colourfix paper to the foam core. Of course, if you've worked on a thicker pastel board of some sort, then you don't have to do this step. So I could have, in fact, primed a piece of MDF and painted, put some pastel primer on it and then painted straight on that. And then I wouldn't need to do this step. But if you've got thin paper, you need to do this step. You can, in fact, just attach it straight on here, but I wanted that little sort of shadow effect by raising it up a little bit. So here goes. I'm going to use the Scotch Positionable Mounting Adhesive, which is very easy to use. I just bought a roll of it online, and I've used it quite a bit to mount pastels. So you simply take paper, lay your painting on it. I always go slightly in from the edge so that I don't have any bits of adhesive showing. Then I'm going to cut around that to release it. I'm just going to cut carefully around the edge, and then I'll pop this away. So that is taffy. That is the adhesive side, which is attached to that. And then I'll be releasing this side from it. So we'll pop it way out of the way. I have this release paper that comes with your, and what I do is just put it face down onto that release paper. And that's just so that if any adhesive goes over the edge, it's easily released. And then you just use this little squeegee which comes with the paper. And I'm just crisscrossing it across the back, and that pushes it firmly onto my pastel, and also gives it a little bit of warmth that helps to release the paper. So then I just take the backing off it. It's always hard, isn't it, to start it? And you can see the glue starting to come off. If I haven't done it enough, you just put it down again, give it a little bit more of that movement. So I keep this squeegee just moving around like this as I pull it off, so that it just creates a little bit of heat there. How about I turn it around the other way so I can do it without getting my hand in the way. You can see what's happening. So you can see it's peeling back now, and the glue is staying on there, the adhesive. So I'll do all that just so it's all off. Paper is released, and I can attach it to my foam core. I'm using the thinner foam core because I don't want the final package to stick out past the frame. This one just mounts onto the foam core, and again I'm going to pop that down and just squeegee over it to make sure that that adhesive really sticks. You could use glassine or maybe even baking paper for this part, but those things will adhere to the glue. So if you sort of, there's going to be no glue sticking up, you can use that. So now it's nice and firmly attached to that backing sheet there. Now I'm going to attach it to my board. So here's my board. The thing I want to do is make sure that my borders are correct, so I can just measure that for just that way. Don't blow your pastels, huh? And then this way it's 4, and this way it's 4. So it's a 4. It's almost the width of that ruler all the way around, and that's quite a good way. The other good way to do this is to make yourself a little corner square, such as this, that you can position on the board once you've got the image where you want it. Then I can lift it off. In the mounting tape, you often get these bits left over, and I'm just going to use one of those to mount this up. It doesn't have to be fitting perfectly on there, so that will do nicely. And I'll just cut it down in there. Well, those little leftover bits are quite good for doing things like this. But here we go. You could glue it on. It really doesn't matter how you do it because it's not touching the painting, so it's not going to be a problem with archival qualities. You can see when it doesn't quite fit, I just give it a bit more of that action, and then it will stick down. So I follow along behind it with my little squeegee, just helping it to stick down. I'm just measuring my 4 again from the corners. So that's 4 in. That's 4 in. And that is going to go in there. Just lining up with that. So I'm just sitting it down gently, taking it up and just checking. I think it needs to go over slightly. So you can move this around a little bit. So now it's on there where I want it. I'm just going to put the paper down again and give it a really good press so that it sticks. Yes. Yep, it's stuck on. And I can pick it up by the paper and it won't fall off. So that's done. Now I just need to pop the frame on. So in it goes to the frame. And then I'm just going to use my trusty point driver to secure it in place. Here we go. Now the points. There we go. It's all attached. All I need to do now is put some of this on and put my tape. So again, I don't think I need any more points there. I'm just going to cut the tape to the length there and there. It's still a bit, the scissors are still a bit gluey in cutting that mountain tape. One there and one there. You're just doing this for your own enjoyment at home. You don't even need to do this tape. This tape is, you know, if you're going to sell it or exhibit it, you'd want it to be nice and tidy on the back. But if you're just looking at it at home for your own enjoyment, you don't really need to do this. It's not going to make any difference to the longevity of the painting. So I'm just going to snip up into the corner there. Snip into that corner so that I can put it down like so. Again, don't worry about any of those creases. They tend to just come out as it dries. But you could use a credit card or a squeegee to just go along and do that. Credit cards work really well for that as well. Here we go. And then in the corners, I'm just cutting myself small corner pieces. And I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Use the water. I do have a different way of doing those corners, which I failed to do this time, which means you don't have to cut these corner pieces. But no matter, it's always good to know how to do things 3 different ways, is my feeling about life. Because you never know when something... All I have to do now is put on the hanging wire. So make sure you've got it up the right way. So the hanging wire will go up this end. I have my screwdriver. As I said before, we just put them about 1/3 of the way down. You can measure it or you can eyeball it like I just did. Make sure that your screw is not going to be deeper than the side. There, and you can see on this one it's not. So it's not going to come through on the side. Pop that in about 1/3 of the way down. Screw in. And make sure my other one's going in the same place. Same distance from the top. There it is. And wire goes in now. Put it through both sides to start with so that you know you've got enough for tying off. Then tie it off. Right off this end. I want you to see that I'm not paying any, not being very precious with this painting. It's just rolling around on here, and we'll have a look at it when I've finished, and you should see that there's been no movement at the station and that it's all still firmly in place for pastel, which is pretty amazing. So if you're going to do it this way, I just suggest that you paint it a little bit lighter than you want your finished painting to be. But we'll be able to compare it to the others that I didn't fix or varnish, and you can see how much it's darkened it. The other thing I could have done, this was painted on a sort of sienna colour fixed paper, Art Spectrum Colour Fix paper. If I had used the sand colour or the white, then it wouldn't have darkened very much at all, is what I've found in my experience. Okay, so there we are. You can see, even though it's been lying, it's a pastel painting and it's been lying on this surface, I've been moving it around, it hasn't smudged at all. A fabulous way if you don't have glass, you can't cut glass, you don't want the reflections that you're going to get if you're not using an art glass. And when you first start, who's going to be using an art glass because you can't afford it, especially in Australia? So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.